Hook, what if your government spent decades trying to control your mind? Not in a movie, in real life, with real people, real drugs, and real secrets buried for over 30 years. Intro. In 1977, the American public learned something horrifying. The CIA had been running a secret program called MKUltra, a mind control experiment that began during the Cold War and continued for over 2 decades. They drugged American citizens without their knowledge, subjected them to electroshock therapy, and tried everything from hypnosis to sensory deprivation to LSD. The goal? Create the perfect weapon that could fight without bullets, a mind that could be controlled, reprogrammed, and deployed like a tool. But here's what most people don't know: MKUltra wasn't just one program. It was a network of over 150 separate sub-projects at 80 different institutions across the United States and Canada. And the full extent of what they did was never fully revealed. Subscribe and let's uncover the truth. Segment 1, Project Artichoke, the beginning. Before MKUltra, there was Project Artichoke. Starting in 1951, the CIA began experimenting with techniques to extract information from prisoners of war and suspected double agents. They tested sodium pentothal, hypnosis, and even what they called chemical agents to break down a person's will. But Project Artichoke quickly escalated beyond interrogation. The CIA wanted to know if they could not just extract information, but actually implant suggestions, true mind control. They began recruiting psychiatrists, psychologists, and doctors who were willing to push ethical boundaries for the sake of national security. And by 1953, Project Artichoke transformed into MKUltra, with a much bigger budget and no oversight whatsoever. Segment 2, the LSD Experiments. You've probably heard the rumors about the CIA testing LSD on unsuspecting people. It's not a rumor, it's documented fact. Under MKUltra Subproject 8, the CIA set up front companies and safe houses where they would invite unwitting subjects for parties or medical research. Then they'd spike their drinks with LSD and watch what happened through one-way mirrors. One documented case, Frank Olson, a biological warfare scientist, was given LSD without his knowledge at a retreat in 1953. He became paranoid and agitated. 9 days later, he fell from a 13th-floor hotel window to his death. The CIA initially called it suicide. Decades later, his family exhumed his body and found evidence of blunt force trauma to the head, suggesting he was thrown. The CIA paid the family $1 million in 1976 to settle the lawsuit. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the chemist who synthesized the LSD for MKUltra and personally administered it to subjects, was later awarded the CIA's Intelligence Medal of Merit. Segment 3, Electroshock, Sensory Deprivation, and Hypnosis. But LSD was just one tool. MKUltra also explored electroshock therapy, not for medical treatment, but to see if memory could be wiped clean. Subjects were given electroconvulsive shocks at levels high enough to cause seizures and temporary amnesia. Sensory deprivation, the infamous isolation tanks used in the 1960s. The CIA funded research at McGill University where subjects were kept in dark, soundproof tanks wearing only a breathing mask and nothing to see, hear, or feel for hours or even days. Many developed hallucinations, paranoia, and severe anxiety. Hypnosis was another major focus. The CIA wanted to create hypnotic couriers, people who could carry classified information in their subconscious without knowing it, then be triggered to recall it by a specific code word. They also experimented with creating Manchurian Candidate-style assassins, programmed killers who wouldn't remember their actions. To this day, the CIA has never fully declassified how far these experiments went. Segment 4, The Destruction of Records. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of all MKUltra files. Tens of thousands of documents detailed records of experiments, subject identities, drug dosages, and results were incinerated in a single day. Only a few boxes survived because they were misfiled in a finance office. These were discovered during the 1977 Church Committee hearings that finally exposed MKUltra to the public. The surviving documents, just 6,000 pages out of an estimated 30,000 plus, tell a fragmentary story. Subject names were redacted. Locations were vague. And many of the university researchers who participated never faced consequences. In fact, some continued their careers as if nothing had happened. What else was in those burned files? We'll likely never know. Segment 5: What MKUltra left behind. The legacy of MKUltra lives on in surprising ways. Modern interrogation techniques, psychological warfare doctrine, and even some psychiatric treatments trace their roots back to these experiments. But the darker legacy is harder to measure. Hundreds of unwitting subjects, soldiers, prisoners, mental health patients, and ordinary civilians went through these experiments. Some suffered permanent psychological damage. Some died. Nearly all were never told what had been done to them. In 2007, the CIA released a paper acknowledging MKUltra but downplaying its scope. Critics point out that most records were destroyed, so the official story is based on what remains, which is exactly what the CIA chose not to burn. Outro. So here's what we know for certain: the CIA ran a massive mind control program for over 20 years, experimented on unwitting American citizens, destroyed most of the evidence, and the full truth may have gone up in smoke back in 1973. The question is not whether MKUltra happened, that's proven. The question is whether the techniques they developed are still being used today. There are no government watchdogs that can guarantee they aren't. If this kind of investigative content matters to you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We dig into the stories the system doesn't want you to see. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.